don't shoot. And I was like, okay, I won't shoot. Peace.
Bang, 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 bang.
Hey, and welcome to Tomb Raider Race to the End. And this week we've been playing 13th Floor. The game starts off with you smashing in through a window and then sliding down a vent.
I'm in.
Yes, and then you reach a kind of T-junction. So you've got a left or a right. Which way did you go?
Well, there was one way which hinted a med pack when there was like a flyover scene. So I went that way first and managed to sort of get through, even though I wasn't actually able to grab it. I had half my body through.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I managed to sort of morph through the wall.
I saw it, and I assumed there must be another way round, like the back of it or something.
And then the next thing we did was a bit like, I felt a bit like John McClane in the first Die Hard.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
Yeah, enter the vent, and there's like a padlocked vent grate at the end, and I shot out the padlock, which caused an explosion.
This Robocop guy was really quite efficient at killing me.
I tried shooting and jumping, rolling, shooting. Couldn't get it. I tried just looking around to see if there's somewhere to go. No. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stop. And I slid down backwards, and then I waited, and he was facing just the wall. That's when I was like, okay, this is where you can do something different.
You would think they would notice, like, half of the ceiling falling in.
That's the Tomb Raider logic I mentioned.
Right.
Bang!
And then you play stealth mode.
Yeah. So dispatch him, and then you climb up, drop down, and you end up in quite a cool vertical room.
A laser trap
and
room.
It's with a kind of an art exhibit of a ladder in the middle, like a whale bone up the middle, and yeah, just have to time your climb, I think, to get to the
There
top.
was also a ledge with some ammunition on, and then from that ledge, for quite a while, I was trying to jump in the grate where the laser had arrived from and was going to and fro out of the. It was sort of floating along, going. Vroom, vroom.
Get to the top, and it's a dead end, except for a panel with bullet holes in it. So far, the level is quite much more user-friendly than other levels, where it's fairly linear, and yet the interesting concepts and the new things are not explained to you, but you can work them out on this level, whereas other levels we found those things are just so obscure, so abstract that you...
Yes, and then this grate that you go along actually has like a gun turret in it, so you can't go back.
So we're in the 13th floor, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a sleeping guard. I think Zip gives you a clue as to did he call you to explain to not wake him up?
Yeah, he says to be sneaky, so I snuck around and took the security pass from him.
And at the other end of that corridor, you can then open the triangle door. And,
I think you have to go up a floor first.
Oh,
so that you use the
are
elevator,
right.
which was a new dynamic, a new game mechanic, I suppose, which hadn't been done before. It takes a bit of time to go to each one and then discover where it is, and it's a bit disorientating because you don't really know where you're going and you're a bit like apprehensive. But it is kind of good in that you are contained on those two levels and you can't actually go anywhere else, so it does sort of limit pieces of the puzzle. When you go and take the elevator to the next floor, there's a bunch of guys in the corridor.
So is that the place where you saved in a funny place?
I had come out and I had sneakily killed them, been really smart. Then I went into the control room. Then I died, and then I came out and I thought, I better save it here. But I saved it when they'd already spotted me, so I had to like...
Oh, Okay.
Had to like go for it.
Talking of that, the mode literally made like hardly any difference. Because you can snipe on burst mode, so there was no point in the
Switching.
two other extremes, the snipe or the continuous mode. Just stick on burst.
I guess the reason they have that is to hint that you do need to use sniping in this level. You do need to use it as a form of progression, and it kind of helps, I suppose, in that is the only gun you have, and that there are these 3 different options. So within your inventory, you are given this clue, because there's not very many things, not very many options, but it does have those 3: burst, sniper, and something else. So you're hinted at must use the sniper.
That's a very fair comment, actually, because we've been quite critical of them not giving clues. So that is a good one for you will need to snipe on this. I sniped those guys, actually. I shot them straight in the head, so just shot both of them. And I shot one of them, fell to the floor. The other one didn't even turn around.
They're just so engrossed in their work at this.
Yeah, exactly.
I came in and pointed a gun at one of them, and he's like, "Don't shoot." And I was like, "Okay, I won't shoot." Peace. And there was a button to push, but it took me a while to figure out what that actually did, because I went to the wrong place after that. I then got back in the elevator when I should have stayed on the same floor.
That opens a door down the guard end of the upper floor, where you get the door code CD, and that's when you need to head downstairs to open the vent.
Yes, and in this vent, there's a whole load of explosions going on. What is with this level like getting so loud, and like so many controlled explosions in like the 13th and 14th floor of a high-rise building? What is this place?
I think, though, what this level did very well was the music came in at different points of the level, and I really liked that. And there were some like dramatic and atmospheric sections of this level just with the music.
I think this game, more so than any of the previous ones up to this point, has more different and unique musical cues.
So in that flame room, this is where I had my poor save moment. If you get too close to the explosions, you get set on fire, and I saved just as I got set on fire. So grab the pole, slide down, avoiding the explosions, and I saw a kind of gap in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually reloaded the save to do it again, jumping backwards and grabbing a secret.
So my experience of this bit was I just did it quite quickly, quite flukily, did it first time, and then I went exploring and stuff, and then I died, and I came back to this point. And then I couldn't do it. I was like, how did I do it first time? Like, I just fluked it. And I was messaging you to say, like, how do you do this? And you gave me the strats to get down there. I really struggled after that. And I used that to get that secret as well.
At the bottom of that, the shaft, you end up in a room with another Robocop type guard. Zip gives you another call to say this one is even more Robocop.
Uh-oh, you're going to have to play some fancy moves to get past this quarterback.
And you will not be able to kill him, basically, which I tried to do and then died.
That is the worst cutscene so far, because there's explosions going on. It's not even really a cutscene. She just sort of slows to a walk, and you're just sort of talking. And I can't tell what he's saying very easily because of all the noise.
No, because I agree with that in terms of the audio, but I quite liked the way that the cutscene happened without it being a cutscene, which is quite rare for PlayStation 1.
I suppose it's reminiscent of the later Uncharted games, where you have like a walking section where there's a bit of audio, like a conversation that's driving the narrative on. Sort of forces you to slow and listen to that, but you're still kind of in control and you're still moving forwards, but at a slower pace.
I thought that was quite forward thinking of them, but yeah, I think the audio was an issue.
Then eventually I found the right room, and there's a couple of cupboards in there, both with chloroform in, but This room was so awesome. This is my favorite bit of the whole level. Like, there's a whole bunch of like bugs and tanks in there, and it just left me really intrigued and like just sort of like stood there in like wonder. And I got a bit close to them, and then one of them exploded, and then there was all these bugs coming after me and hurting me and stuff. So I picked up the chloroform quickly, and then had several unsuccessful attempts of knocking out the guard.
So dispatch the Terminator, and you head into a corridor. And this bit was quite interesting for me because I died the first time, but then it's quite clear that you have to snipe the other baddie in the corridor. And then I got locked in that room. I got to the end and the door was shut. And so I was in this tiny little corridor. And then I realized, oh, okay, the baddie dropped one of the CDs. But I really thought that was a kind of game-breaking thing, because I've heard rumors about some sort of game-breaking thing in this section.
I had exactly the same experience.
I'm glad we both went through that.
Then to finish the level, you had a timed run with a god-awful camera angle and some stairs taking you down a couple of flights.
Cool level design. That I love those staircases. I thought the narrow kind of up-down bit, I've not seen that in Tomb Raider before.
And that's when you pick up the iris and exit to end the level. That room, though, was really cool. I wish I could have stuck around and hung out in there a bit more and explored. It looked awesome. So it's that time again, time for our Tomb Raider Spotlight, where we highlight a creator or maybe review a non-mainline Tomb Raider game or other piece of media. And this week we are looking at the history and geography in Tomb Raider.
The history and geography of Tomb Raider has a really high production quality. It's almost like watching a documentary.
It follows the plot of the first two classic games, taking each level location as it goes along, using the in-game cutscenes to break up footage taken from travel websites, National Geographic, archive photos and fan art. The history and geography of Tomb Raider investigates the symbols found on textures in the games, and educates you on their likely origin, alongside the in-game relics such as the Seraph, Dagger of Xi'an and the Talion. Armed with a greater understanding of the relics strengthens their use as plot points in the story.
There are a lot of interesting theories to do with the plot that are put forward. For example, the lava in Floating Island is actually mercury. So it's a bit surreal and out there. But if Lara has been inhaling mercury, it will be hallucinogenic. It doesn't lose the spirit of Tomb Raider though, and there's a particularly funny bit where they describe Lara as defending herself.
After trespassing on their territory, defends herself against an attacking snow leopard or two.
Hats off to the voiceover artists, OG Lara Shelley Blonde in episode 1, and my favourite Lara of all time, J.R. Millward, in episode 2. It's their vocal talents that help to immerse you in this documentary.
It really helped me understand the plot much better. For example, why you actually visit the Maria Doria in Tomb Raider 2. So I found out through history and geography that Gianni's boat sank on the way to Tibet, and that is why Lara visits the sunken Maria Doria.
So as I mentioned there, I do find it quite difficult, particularly in old school games where cutscenes would have taken up a lot of the disc, so they probably try to cut down on it. Although I played Tomb Raider 1 quite recently, as in within the last year, I still found it quite difficult to follow the storyline. And I've done Anniversary, where they develop it a little bit more. So I found this video was really good at just laying it out in order, reasons behind it, all of the history and geography behind that the storyline, and I thought it helped me understand why you go to all those places.
It's brilliant the way they structure it, following the stories, and I also really appreciate how seriously they take it. So it's time for our question of the week, and last week I came up with a challenge for you to pick your favourite level that deserves a HD remaster or remix. You don't remix it, do you? That's what DJs do. Remaster or a remake?
Yes, great question, to be honest. And a level instantly jumped to my mind. It's actually a level that I didn't mention in what's your favourite level question of the week, which I should have done because it's a classic. Barkang Monastery, Tomb Raider 2. I think as a remake with all the modern graphics and level design that they could put in, that level could be incredible. In terms of for the era, the monks where they're your kind of allies until you accidentally shoot one, which with the aiming system you're likely to accidentally shoot one, where they then turn on you. I think that's a great mechanic, and they only use it once in the whole series. In a remake, that will be incredible, where you've got more control over the shooting as well. I think it's a well-designed level. I love the big hub room with the big statue.
That would be the bit that would look the most amazing, I think. There's plenty of cool rooms, and like the bell tower that would be super nice to be decked out in luscious HD, but that bit especially, and the prayer wheels room as well, that would look beautiful.
And the very start where you turn the corner and you've got the monastery cut into the rock, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So for me, I can't think of another level which I'd rather see remade to the modern era. And I think there was rumours actually after Anniversary that they were going to kind of go through them all. And this is before all the Spyro and Crash remakes. You know, it was kind of the original remake. And I'm actually quite upset that they haven't made the second one because I love that game. So how about you? What was your dream remake level?
Mine was London, for very different reasons though. I really didn't get on with London in Tomb Raider 3 because it was so dark I couldn't tell what was going on. Apparently it's better in the PC version, but I was playing on PlayStation and I was just frustrated with not being able to see anything. So with updated graphics, I might actually like that sort of series of levels. Maybe not the underground one where you have to do the ridiculous coin into one specific toll booth to get a ticket. Like that is Tomb Raider logic at its peak. But,
to be fair though, in a remake, you could work that in a bit better, and people might end up liking that level.
Yeah, I suppose there's a lot of room for improvement, but I can imagine a bit where you have like the bell tower and you're killing the would-be assassin using that, and where you're doing like the climbing parts and jumping over the rooftop with a London skyline rather than like blackness. That could be super beautiful and iconic. So, 13th floor in Tomb Raider Race to the End. What did you make of that level overall?
I thought it was a brilliant level, to be honest. I was a bit apprehensive before starting because after the old mill, where I felt some of the mechanics were not explained very well, I was worried that would continue. I've actually heard bad things about this area of the game. But pleasantly surprised, quite linear, but I don't think that was a negative thing. There were things to work out, but you could work them out. So I thought this was a contender for one of the best levels in the game. What about you?
Yeah, it's all right. All right, let's do the times, because I think I know the result.
Yeah, so I did 1 hour, 8 minutes.
Oh, I did it in 1 hour 44.
Yeah. Well, that was I enjoyed that level, and but again, I'm still now nervous of the next one.
Will it be full of bullshit Tomb Raider logic?
We shall find out next week.
Right, thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye.
The bell. Happy retirement.
Man, that guy went flying.